Hey, what's up? It's Nico. I just wanted to give you a quick update on the automation feature that I've launched, I think, just 2 days ago. And I haven't announced this feature yet, so there is a chance that you haven't heard about it. And if that's the case, you can open CopySpace, find the automation feature over here if you have pinned it already, or you go to the menu and you find it over here. And in case you've toggled to the list view, then you will find it over here, of course. So you open automation and it looks like this. And the first thing you can do is check out my previous videos, and they explain a lot of the concept, especially this video over here, explains a lot of the concept how automation works. Since recording that video, the interface has changed a little bit. For example, we have this duplicate button over here, which duplicates a box like this, for example. And yes, it's really duplicating whatever you have inside here. So if you, for example, have a drawing image, and you say pizza slice, whatever, when you duplicate that, you get the exact same box again and can alter this, whatever, pizza slice with tomato sauce or whatever it is, right? Compare this to the add button over here. This always adds a fresh block, but I'm going to delete these because, as you've probably just saw, we have a few new blocks and I want to introduce them. So let me get rid of it and add a new block. So the first block is run a prompt. This is kind of the heart of automation. We can run a prompt, store the result in a variable over here, run another prompt and use the result from our first generation inside the input, inside our prompt of our next generation, if that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, you will see it in a second, or as I said, you can go to this video and it will walk you through the basic concepts. But let me give you an example. We can have a prompt that says, write a headline for the topic how to travel the world on a budget, right? And we can store this result inside the variable headline, all right? And then we can run another prompt that looks at the headline. So look at my headline over here. Please write an introduction. All right, so this is my first automation, so to speak. And I can format this. This is my H1 headline, and this is paragraph, and I can now run it. So for the sake of this demonstration and to keep things fast, I will switch from GPT-4 to GPT-4 Turbo, like this, and then just run the automation. Alright, so it wrote the headline and it writes the introduction just as we said. So we are chaining prompts together. Alright, I have an in-depth tutorial of what I'm doing right here on this video. So if you're curious, go check it out. But just for the sake of demonstration, let me remove this topic over here and use a variable instead. But before I do this, let me add another block, change to use content, which was static content before in previous videos. I just paste the topic over here and say this should be my topic variable, and then I can use my topic variable inside my first prompt. So write a headline for this topic, and I just do it like this. Okay, and then for the introduction, I can also use the topic variable to give the prompt more context. For example, the overall topic we are looking at is topic. Now look at my headline over here, and then we paste the headline, please write an introduction. So under the hood, behind the scenes, this block writes this content into the topic variable. Then this block runs a prompt, but before it runs this prompt, it replaces the result, the topic, it places this at this position, right? And then it writes the result not only on the canvas, like over here, but also in the variable headline. And then we can use the variable headline and of course the variable topic in preceding prompts, so to speak. So we are chaining prompts together, if this makes sense. So I only have to do this once. Once I set up my prompt chain, my automation, I only ever have to go here and change the topic and everything will work just smoothly. So let me give you an example, run automation. So it writes the headline and now it writes an introduction by looking at my overall topic and of course looking at the headline. All right, so maybe you're asking, hey, this is a little bit generic. I want a different writing style. What else you can do is I can introduce another block. I will move it all the way up over here. And I say this is also a use content block, and my writing style, write in the tone of voice, writing style of marketing genius Frank Kern, for example, right? And then we can store this in the variable writing style. And now I can use this variable writing style in all my prompts. So write a headline for the topic, rules, for example, use this writing style. And that's it. I can just copy this to other prompts. And now I made sure that all my prompts use the writing style that I define over here. So here's my writing style. And here is my headline. So whenever I come back and need another blog post, just imagine I have added a few more blocks that write a little bit more content. Then I only have to ever define the headline over here, the topic, and the writing style over here, and go for it. So for example, unlock the secrets to globetrotting on a dime, your ultimate guide, and so on and so forth. So this is a different writing style now, of course. So we can go in here again and say something like write in a tone of voice, writing style of whatever, like Steve Jobs or something, and we will get a different output, right? If this makes sense. Or we could change the topic. So for example, how to make cheesecake. And I run this automation. So here comes my headline, and here comes the introduction for my cheesecake blog post. All right, you see all this cryptic stuff I'm setting up right here. I only have to ever do this once, and then I just have to change my content boxes over here with whatever I have in mind. So if I have a specific writing style in mind, I would change this box. If I have a specific topic in mind, I would change this box. And now you may be asking, okay, I have the headline and the introduction, but I also have this, and I don't want to have this on the canvas. I just use these as variables. So we can switch here from variable and canvas to variable only. That's where the box outputs the results. So by default, it's variable and canvas, and we switch these two to variable only. All right, and that's about it. Let's run it again, and you will see that it only writes the headline, and then it writes the introduction. Okay, so that's just an update of what I've already discussed in previous videos. So if you're curious, again, go to this menu and click one of these videos, or if not all, and we will move on to other blocks right now. So let me delete this, and let's create a new automation. Let's say this is a test automation, all right? So I can have multiple automations here and switch between them. For example, this could be my blogging automation, right? And whenever I need a blog post, I just open up my blogging automation, enter the topic, enter the writing style, and of course you can introduce new variables because you can set this prompt chain, this automation up however you want, right? Alright, so I'm switching back to my test automation, and we will have a look at another task. So another task we could perform is draw an image. So draw an image, well, it makes sense to add this in our blogging workflow or automation. So let's go back here and add another box, and this is draw image. And for the prompt, I'm just using the headline, for example. So the headline is my prompt for draw image. And that's about it. It's already set up. It just works like this. Here comes my headline. Here comes my introduction. And after the introduction, this automation now draws an image about unlock the secret to creamy, dreamy cheesecake. It uses this headline as the prompt to draw an image. And then it will insert the image to my blog post. So here it is, my cheesecake. All right, that's pretty cool, right? And now you're saying, hey, I want to post this to my WordPress site. And I can do this. Here's another block. Here's publish WordPress. So publish WordPress, I have set up my copy space block. And if you have no idea where you set it up, then you go to menu and publish. Whatever sites you set up over here, will appear in your automations as well. So at the end of this automation, this post over here, including your headline, the introduction, whatever it is you're writing, also the image, this will be published to my WordPress blog. So of course you can change the publishing status. For example, I'm never publishing it as published. I'm always using draft or private or whatever, so it's not visible right away because I want to go in manually and review it. But of course, if you're confident, you can just publish it and never look at it again because Copyspace will handle everything for you. Okay, let's try this. Let's delete everything and yeah, just run the automation again. Again, it writes the headline, then it writes the introduction, and then it publishes it to my website. Alright, so it drew another image and it published it to my website. Let's have a look at my website. Alright, so if you check out the Copyspace post, you will see that it has just been published to it. So I now have a cheesecake post. I will of course delete this in a second, but let's have a quick look. So I'm opening it. Here's my headline, here's my introduction, here's my cheesecake, and it's fully automated. I just clicked the run the automation button and it wrote my blog post and posted it to my site. Alright, so now back to the automation. You can now publish your content automatically to your WordPress site. That's amazing, alright? So that's about it for my blogging workflow. Now let's finally switch to my test workflow, my test automation. So we had run a prompt, draw an image, use content, and publish to WordPress. The next block I would like to introduce is scrape YouTube transcript. So the YouTube transcript block takes a URL, a YouTube URL, and then downloads the transcript and saves the transcript to my variable. So before I demonstrate this, let me delete my content over here, and then I just paste one of my own YouTube videos. And then I say store this to the variable transcript. Alright, and now I have to do something with it, right? I run a prompt, so maybe summarize this transcript. And I just paste the variable over here, and that's about it. I don't want the transcript on my canvas, so I switch to variable only. And what's happening here is it downloads the transcript from this YouTube video, save the results in the transcript variable, and then runs the prompt on this transcript, right? Alright, so let's run this automation. So it downloaded the transcript and now it summarizes what is happening in the video for me. And of course you can do whatever you want. You can, for example, scrape videos and then use the content to write a blog post about your video if you set up an automation that does this, right? Alright, so now we have scrape YouTube transcript. I can rename this automation now. Scrape YouTube transcript. Okay, so now we looked at scraping YouTube transcript. Let's create another automation. I name it test again because I'm not sure which task we're looking at right now. Let's see. We have scrape YouTube transcript. Now we can also scrape website content. It takes a URL, for example, http Copyspace AI, and then stores the content from the website, maybe to website content or whatever variable name you want to use. I create another blog and run a prompt on this content. Again, I could say something like summarize this content or rewrite this content or use this content as context to write a blog post or whatever it is. I'm just trying to give you a brief demo of what is happening right here. So this blog now downloads the content from the URL Copyspace AI, stores it into website content, and then runs a prompt. And of course, I can run multiple prompts. I can now summarize this website content and store this in the variable summary. And then I can say something like, look at this summary and write a Facebook ad. Okay, so now I have created myself a workflow or an automation that scrapes the content from any website, then it creates a summary from it, and then it looks at the summary and then it writes a Facebook ad. So for the sake of this demo, I'm going to switch this to variable only, but I will output the summary and then I will output the ad. Alright, let's run this automation. it already downloaded the content from the website Copyspace AI, and now it summarized the content and outputs it to the variable and on the canvas. Of course, we don't really need the summary on the canvas. Just for the sake of demo, I switched it on, but in a production scenario, I will probably change this to variable only because I'm not interested in the summary here. I'm interested in the Facebook ad, right? And here it comes. It writes the Facebook ad and outputs it to the variable, which is variable 3. I could have rewritten this to something meaningful like Facebook ad or so, but since I'm not using it, I don't really care about this variable because I have the Facebook ad on my canvas. So here it is. Let's see, where did it stop? I think this was the summary, right? And this is the Facebook ad. And now I have created myself a workflow that takes content from any website. So I can do any website, right? I can switch it to ArtSpace, for example, which I'm running too. And I don't need to touch this ever again, right? I just have to switch the website and it runs the same automation again. Now we can do this, but for the sake of this demonstration, I will switch this to variable only so we only see the Facebook ad on the canvas. All right, let me remove this and run the automation. Okay, so sometimes it takes a few moments to get the actual content from a website because the website has some kind of protection and we have to try hard to get it, but eventually we will get it. And now it summarizes the content, but it doesn't show this because we set variable only. And now it starts writing the Facebook ad and it says Black Friday deal alert. So yes, I have a deal running for Black Friday and it's 37%. So I get a pretty relevant ad based on my landing page, which is extremely helpful for me. So the main point here is that I only have to set this up once. I set up my own, let's see, this is my landing page to Facebook ad workflow. And I save it, and whenever I have a landing page again and I need a Facebook ad, I just open this workflow, this automation, paste the URL of the landing page here, and that's it. Everything is already set for me, right? That's the cool thing about automation. All right, let's create another one and have another look. Let me clear this real quick. And what else do we have? We've talked about publishing to WordPress, scraping YouTube transcript, scrape website content. We can scrape the Google SERPs. How cool is that? So it works like this. I have to provide a search query. For example, how to write engaging Facebook ads, right? And then I have to set the search language and the search engine, which is English in the United States in my case. And what's happening here is this blog now downloads the top 10 results from Google for this search query in this search language and the search engine and stores it to these variables. The top ranking site is stored in search URL 1. And I can now copy this, right? Create another blog and then say, for example, scrape website content of this URL. Okay, let's break this down a little bit slower because this might be confusing. Now, in the previous example, I had the scrape website content and I pasted a URL, right? Now, in my new example, I have the scrape website content and I'm not pasting a URL, but instead I'm using a variable. So whatever site comes here will then be scraped and written to my variable website content. And of course, I can also scrape two sites. I just have to create two blocks. So I'm pasting the first site and the second site. So this is website content 1 and this is website content 2. I'm now downloading the top 10 URLs. I'm fetching these from Google search and then I'm downloading the first site and I'm downloading the second site. And let's switch to variable only over here. And then I'm running a prompt that uses both sites. All right. So for example, run a prompt, look at the content and write a brief summary, right? Of course you can, summary example, it's just because I'm not creative. You can say anything like extract the top keywords or whatever it is. So I'm just pasting my content over here. Content 1 is this, like this. Content 2. Maybe we can get a little bit more explicit. So look at the content 1 and content 2. Look at content 1 and content 2, right? And write a brief summary. All right. put this in quotes. And that's about it. Now let's run this automation. It downloads the SERPs, it downloads the website of the first result of the top ranking site, the second ranking site, and now it writes a summary of the first site and a summary of the second site. Alright, so that's an automation that writes summaries from SERPs. Alright, summary from SERPs. Alright, so you can now scrape the Google SERPs and use the results and do whatever you want, right? Okay, what else do we have? Let's create a new automation. So we have talked about run a prompt, draw image, use content, extract SEO keywords. That's the point we don't have yet. And we talked about all these. Alright, so the last block I'm talking about is extract SEO keywords. So it just takes any content. For example, I could just paste the content over here, any content really, and then it stores the keywords inside the keyword variable. But for the sake of this demo, let's just output the keywords also to the canvas. Alright, so let's run this. And now it looks at the content and finds the most meaningful keywords from that content. Alright, here it is. Ad copy, compelling Facebook ad copy, Facebook ads, different ads, and so on and so forth. But maybe you don't want to use static content like this. So what else you can do is I create a new block. I scrape you could scrape the Google SERPs, but I scrape a website. Maybe again, one of my websites, Copyspace AI, and I store it inside website content. And then I just use the website content variable in my extract SEO keywords content. So I'm not pasting the actual content, but instead I'm using a variable inside this. So whenever I need the keywords for a specific website, I can just come here, change the website, run the automation, and that's about it. So let's run it. Alright, it already outputted the content from my website because I didn't switch to variable only, which you should do because otherwise, well, you have all the content on your canvas. And here are all the keywords already, right? These are all the meaningful keywords that are related to my Copyspace AI website. Let me delete this and run it again. Now this time it doesn't output the content of Copyspace AI to the canvas because I switched to variable only, which I would recommend always doing when scraping website content. So again, here are my keywords, but what to do with these keywords, right? Maybe delete these keywords and say run a prompt, look at the following keywords and write a blog post. And then I just paste the keywords variable over here. And now we have a workflow. Let me rename this, that website to keywords to blog post. Now this automation or workflow, or however you want to call it, takes the content from any website, then gets the SEO keywords from that website, and then uses the keywords, only the keywords, to write a blog post. Now let's run this. Let me quickly check variable only, keywords, variable only. And that's about it. Now we're scraping the website, we are getting the keywords, and then lastly we're using these keywords to write a blog post. Alright, here it comes. Now it's only looking at the keywords to write my blog post. And you see, this is basically how this works. You can chain all these different tasks together. I provided a few examples that could be helpful for you, but this should only really spark your creativity. You will find your own use cases. You will have your own prompt chains. I just wanted to briefly show you what is possible and that you can chain all these things together in a automation or workflow inside Copyspace AI.